On this episode, we learn about school bus stops in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Then, we look at programs to build sidewalks in Port St. Lucie. The Florida Bicycle Association holds their annual conference in Lakeland. We meet a Sarasota resident who gave up his car for a bicycle. And finally, we talk with a mother about children walking to school in Miami. Stay tuned.
We're in Port St. Lucie, Florida, talking with Marty Sanders with the St. Lucie County School District. What do you do for them?
I'm in charge of long-range planning for facilities for the school district.
And there was something a while back called the Bus Stop Committee.
Yeah, in 2005 we had several pedestrian accidents, and as a result the city of Port St. Lucie asked the school district to look at rulemaking to move some of their bus stops, and as a result we formed a committee, we called it the Bus Stop Committee, looking at where bus stops should be placed, how we could improve safety, and as a result we started a long collaborative effort with the city.
What sort of issues are you dealing with when you're deciding where to put a bus stop?
Of course, where the student lives, a lot of it's based upon community design. If there's adequate pedestrian facilities, or if there's cross streets where you can put bus stops, public spaces like the park across the street, where you can adequately locate a bus stop where parents may bring their children, or where they can walk and wait. All of those things, traffic volumes, all those kind of things that are related to both pedestrian design and roadway design.
So what sort of people did you have on the committee?
It was a diverse group, engineers from both cities and the county, planners from the cities and county, law enforcement officials, school district officials, people in our transportation department that works on routing the buses and locations of the bus stops. The committee met for probably over 4 years, and as a result, we got to understand each other's problems better. Also, a lot of positive things came out of it. We submitted Safe Routes for School grants for infrastructure, sidewalks. Actually, the city committed several $100,000 for sidewalk construction. We also changed the way we route our buses as well. All things that created a safer environment for kids.
What goes into deciding whether a child can walk to school or walk to a bus stop, and where you can put that bus stop?
Well, in Florida, if there's not a hazard, and there's specific described hazards, volume of traffic, whether there's a safe walking path. If you're within 2 miles, you're not eligible for transportation, so you would have to walk. There also is a statute that says that the bus stop cannot be any more than 1.5 miles away from a student's home. We typically route a lot closer than that, about 1/4 to 1/2 mile, because of lack of infrastructure in many of the locations. We just feel that many of the students will not walk on the edge of the road in the grass in the mornings when it's wet, so they end up walking in the street, so it creates additional hazards. So if we can limit the amount of distance they have to walk where there's not infrastructure, it really provides a safer environment.
We're in Port St. Lucie talking with Jesse Curion, who's with the City Engineering Department. What's your involvement with sidewalks in the city?
I work with the Traffic Division in the Engineering Department, where we work to improve pedestrian and vehicular accessibility throughout the city.
What are some of the ways you were able to get sidewalks funded and built?
We have a few ways. We've worked with the school district to change some of our codes in the city to enforce and persuade the developers to come in and put in new sidewalks with their developments. We have also included funding in our annual budget to build new sidewalks, as well as applying for grants with Safe Routes to Schools, Transportation Enhancement, Community Development Block grants.
And the Safe Routes to School grants, what have you been able to accomplish with that?
Well, with the Safe Routes to Schools, we apply with help from the school board. We've acquired a grant for Marion Boulevard, which is putting in sidewalk on a 60-foot right-of-way neighborhood that's taking children to a school. We've also acquired a grant for a pedestrian bridge over a canal, as well as another long corridor leading to a school. So we've applied for multiple sidewalks. Over the 2 years that we've applied, we have received 3 funding.
And the transportation enhancements grants and the block grants, what have you been able to accomplish with those?
With those, we've also got sidewalk grants for neighborhoods that will lead from shopping districts, schools, other attractors for pedestrians to the neighborhoods. With the development block grants, we've put in additional sidewalks, we've upgraded pedestrian facilities, and we will be reconstructing some old and outdated sidewalks.
Have you been able to make much progress in making it easier to be a pedestrian here?
We would like to think so. We're working diligently to improve our pedestrian facilities, make them more accessible, more appealing to pedestrians, and encourage people to use them versus a vehicle trip on the roadway.
We're in Lakeland, Florida, talking with Laura Hallam, who's Executive Director of the Florida Bicyclist Association. What is the FBA?
The FBA is the only statewide education and advocacy organization working for all bicyclists.
And what have you been doing here this week in Lakeland?
This week in Lakeland, we've had our 5th annual Pro Bike, Pro Walk Florida Conference. Our theme this year was the dollars and cents of bicycling and walking, due to it's so important to make your community healthy and safe, but what's really important is to try to quantify just why is it so important to make your communities bikeable and walkable.
And what are some of the economic benefits of being in a bikeable, walkable community?
Well, if you've got people walking and biking, they're probably healthier, so there's lower healthcare costs. You're probably encouraging commerce through more bike shops, which is a great thing. In the state of Florida, tourism is very important, and the more biking and walking facilities there are, the more tourists are going to come and enjoy those facilities. And actually, according to Visit Florida, which is the tourism industry within Florida, the number one request when people visit Florida by stopping at an official welcome center is, where are the good places to ride a bike?
What makes Florida a good place to ride a bike?
Well, we have 365 days of great weather, for one. That's one thing. We have a very, very broad roadway system, and we have a wonderful system of off-road trails, paved trails.
And those trails just don't happen. What's it taken over the years to get all those facilities built?
Well, the first trail was actually the St. Mark's Trail in the Tallahassee area, and that was over 20 years ago. And there was always concern, if we build a paved trail, it's going to bring in riffraff, it's going to create crime. And we've learned that doesn't happen. What it does do is it increases your property values. Plus, people want to come to that area because they love trails. And then since that time, through organizations like the Office of Greenways and Trails and the Rails to Trails Conservancy, they've acquired a lot of land, built a lot of wonderful trails. And that's what people really want, especially people who are visiting Florida or families. They feel a lot safer riding on a trail that's for biking or walking or inline skating. And eventually we hope to see more and more of those trails connect, so you could actually hop on your bike, you could ride out your driveway, and within a couple of miles you would actually be at a trail.
What other issues is FBA working on? When you aren't at the conference here, when you aren't working on the economic issues, what are some of the other concerns you have?
Well, just last month we had our 2nd annual Florida Bike Summit, which is patterned after the National Bike Summit put on by the League of American Bicyclists. And again, because the budget is always a very, very tense topic, we were there to educate our legislators and explain why it's so important to have great places to ride a bike. But we were also pushing specific legislation related to keeping cyclists and pedestrians safe, because unfortunately Florida doesn't have the best statistics when it comes to fatalities and injuries for pedestrians and cyclists. So we had a very productive summit. We also are working on new bicycle safety education program that will be called Savvy Cycling, and that will be a 3-component educational program that will teach in addition to the League of American Bicyclists curriculum. So that's keeping us very busy.
You have bicycle education at a lot of different levels. You have it, for some children just first learning how to ride a bike or learning how to ride on a trail or then on a street eventually. Then you have adults who, may think they know how to ride in traffic, but sometimes they're doing it wrong. And a state like Florida, you have a sizable immigrant population that might not be familiar with the 6-lane arterials you have so many of. How do you address bicycle education to all these different groups?
No, that's a very good question. And for one, we're trying to reach those folks that are using or would like to use their bike as transportation. Maybe they want to bike to work. Maybe they want to do a short trip to the grocery store, and we know a great majority of errands are less than a mile, and even a larger percentage are just maybe 3 miles. So if we can build people's confidence to be able to take their bike to the grocery store or to the library or to the post office, not only is that going to save them money through gas, it's going to save them time from looking for a parking space, and it's going to make them healthier. So we really want to build confidence to get more people out riding. And again, we bike for all sorts of great reasons, but to really give people the empowerment to use their bikes for transportation.
And you said this is the 5th one of these conferences you've had in Florida. What sort of feedback do you get? What do people, they're back in their own town next week. What will they have gotten out of a conference like this?
Well, for one, they'll leave with a lot of enthusiasm and energy. They would have met a lot of new people. They would have rekindled relationships from the previous year. They'll have a participant list, so now they can pick up the phone or send an email to someone that they just met at the conference and share more ideas, build relationships, and that's what it's really all about. We've had a great slate of speakers and topics, but what it's really about is meeting people and sharing ideas, and you get back to the office and you don't feel alone anymore. Now you've got some good resources to hopefully build some of the same programs in their own communities.
We're in Sarasota, Florida, talking with John Falter. What was your New Year's resolution this year?
My New Year's resolution was to sell my car and live the entire year without a car.
What inspired that?
Basically, I had an old Volvo station wagon that broke down on me a lot, and it left me stationary far too many times. And I just realized that there's a lot of deficiencies in living without a car, and I kind of really wanted to sort of use this as a chance to prove a point as to how difficult it really is in Florida.
And on the first couple of weeks you're out there on foot and on bike, what'd you discover?
Well, we had an unusually cold winter, so it made me far more susceptible to the bizarre climate of Florida. Also, just learning how to deal with things like puddles and, in general, just kind of angry drivers. And drivers oftentimes get baffled by the fact that a bike is sharing their own space, and whenever a bike lane ends, they need to voice this annoyance either by throwing something at you or yelling, "Get out of the road," or "You're not a car, honky," which is my favorite.
So it's not just the infrastructure, but it's people's behavior that can be a challenge.
It's the overall culture. I spend the majority of my time on a bike, and one of the things that really struck me was just how insecure being a bike rider, being a cyclist actually can be. Within my first week at one of my jobs, my bike seat was stolen, cost me $50, and so now I have to take my bike inside of all of my offices.
And behind us, you have US 41, pretty busy road. You're trying to get around Sarasota. Do you have to go on a road like 41?
Well, most drivers would probably go on a road like 41 because they're looking for the highest speed limits they can possibly get. And on certainly a little bit newer areas of Sarasota, like University Parkway over there, one definitely needs to do that. One definitely needs to travel along the major arterial. One of the interesting things, though, about this road is that just about a block over that way is a historic road called Coconut Avenue. Actually, there's one of the first houses and one of the first churches of the whole community right over there. And that's a far more compact street, and it runs completely parallel to 41 and allows cyclists and pedestrians a really easy alternative.
How are you able to get by your day-to-day errands, shopping and all the things that most people think you need a car for?
Shopping can be very difficult. I can no longer shop for the next 3 months on discount buying 12 pounds of frozen broccoli or a box of cereal that's that large. It's really forced me to be able to make smaller trips at the grocery store. One of the cool things about this, though, is since I'm not really worried about the life expectancy of my food, I can really focus on shopping more healthy, eating more fresh fruits and vegetables, and this also encourages me to do more shopping at the local farmers market.
You found it's changed the way that you'd buy in bulk and you'd have to get processed or frozen because otherwise it wouldn't last till the next monthly shopping trip? It really does make a difference in buying fresh fruit?
Definitely. It really just encourages it. By prohibiting the ability to save up for 3 months with all of your frozen food, it really forces one to think about how they shop.
And a lot of these discoveries you made early on, you've been, you're going into 5 months into your experiment now. Are you still discovering new things?
Definitely. The seasons have been a-changing, and we are entering our 9, 10, sometimes 11-month-long summer here in Florida. One of the first things I'm noticing is that I've been going to the dry cleaners a lot more recently. My work wardrobe is completely thrashed by sweat, and bikes get dirty, and you can get bike chain grease on one of your pant legs, and these are just some of the ways that this whole process has just gotten a little bit more messy in the summer months.
How do people cope with that? Summer's going to come every year. Other than visiting your cleaners more often, what can you do?
One thing is just wear short-sleeve shirts. I've been considering taking a change of clothes to work, but I'm not quite sure as to how that would really work.
And when you look at housing expenses, transportation expenses, people trying to get by in the economy that might not be that great at the moment. How much money are you saving on your bike that could impact other people that would make that switch?
Well, for me, I'm a male under 25, so auto insurance is going to cost pretty much the highest for me as it will for anyone. I just went and got a quote this morning. It's $110 from Progressive.
For how long?
Each month. So it's quite a lot, and I estimate that before I started this whole experiment, I spent about $80 a month on gas. So that's about $200 in my pocket that I'm saving.
Not to mention all those car repairs.
And then, of course, the exorbitantly expensive car repairs, which could range anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousand every couple months.
And looking ahead, your resolution was do it through the end of the year. Mm-hmm. You making any predictions about next year yet?
I think I'm going to keep on doing it. I think I'm going to definitely keep on doing it. I think this has been an all-around completely positive experience. It allows me to really just take my life at a slower pace. I can stop along the road and enjoy my scenery whenever I want. A kid dropped his football, I can throw it back to him. If I want to check out some cool architecture, I can do that. I burn about 600 calories a day. American College of Sports Medicine says that a calorie deficit of 500 calories a day will facilitate a pound of weight loss in most Americans. So it's been great as far as my health, as far as just having a good time, as far as economically and environmentally goes.
We're in South Miami, Florida, talking with Dina Weinstein. How did you get interested in pedestrian issues?
Um, well, living in Miami, I found we live just a little too far to my kids' school to walk, so I was stuck driving, and I wanted to bike to get exercise and get my two boys active. And it turned out that the school, barely anybody walks or bikes, so I really felt like an oddball, but I also feel that, as a whole, Miami is just not safe or designed for pedestrians and cyclists. And so I started trying to find out how that was being addressed through government and through non-governmental organizations.
What did you do at your school?
My kids, so I met I met a non-governmental organization called the Green Mobility Network, which is an advocacy organization. And they were very encouraging. They said, organize something. And I said, what? How can I make these people change their behaviors? They just seem to love their SUVs. I didn't really know my kids' classmates, and I felt like I was new to Miami. I felt that was very isolating. And so I couldn't say, you should bike or walk, because I mean, it's not fair to say to a kid or a parent, if you live more than, let's say, a mile, because I'll admit I was a pretty lazy kid and I hated walking a mile, and there were hills where I grew up. We biked 2.5 miles. They said, organize something. I said, is there, what? He goes, bike and walk to school day. I'm like, is there such a thing? And then we saw the website, and it was extremely helpful. And not that the Green Mobility Network wasn't helpful, but I learned a lot. I was also getting involved with a parent advocacy organization called the Human Services Coalition has this Parent Leadership Training Institute. So it was like Civics 101. I was trying to learn a bit more about how Miami is organized, and as a part of that I had to come up with a project, and that was my project. So they were supportive, the website was supportive, the school turned out to be supportive in ways that I couldn't even imagine, and I got elected officials involved. I got the county commissioner to come. The police chief of Pinecrest came. And I swear, the day before, I had no idea how many people would participate. And it was incredible. There were 100, where 3 families walk or bike regularly before, there must have been 150 people on bike. I mean, some people parked in the parking lot and rode a scooter or a skateboard, and to me that was just fine, because the point was to educate kids and adults about pedestrian safety and to get people out of their cars, even if it was parking at a local park and walking together, and to get people to meet each other and say hi, and not just, there's this what they call carpool in South Florida, where you drive up and there's a teacher to meet the kid, and they take the kid and you drive away. And while it's very efficient, I think it's very isolating. And kids are in cars all the time. They never walk.
So now you've had a successful event at the school. What do you do next? Where do you go from there?
Well, I did apply for a mini grant, and that was also a challenge. That was from the Florida Department of Transportation with federal funds. Every state has their Department of Transportation, and the Safe Routes to School funds are funneled down through that. This is for your watchers, your viewers. In case people don't know, you should check out your State Department of Transportation website for funds for your school. It can be private or public school.
That's Safe Routes to School. Google it.
Yeah. And that it was sort of a battle, not a aggressive battle, but will you allow me to apply for this money, because it was not cheap. I mean, the education's not cheap. It was a campaign. I needed funds we made stickers please walk and bike to school with me. Who could say no to a little kid, asking their mom or dad to walk and bike, and kids loved it. Or, information sheets I got from off the web, because it's out there already. And so I said to the school, it's a parochial school, I'm using this money already, so how about it? Let's get some outside money. And they weren't sure, but then they said, yes, let's go for it. So that was one thing, trying to get validation from outside and support from outside. And and with that, we hope if we get it, we'll reach out. There's about 4 private schools in our area, so let them know, hey, we're doing it. Why don't you do it? Because a lot of the private schools fall outside of the public school efforts for the Safe Routes to School or Walk and Bike to School Day. And also I'm talking to Florida Department of Transportation and the Green Mobility Network to try to develop with other partners like hopefully University of Miami School of Architecture, a Safe Routes to School program in Miami, which would be from Miami-Dade County or beyond, which would be more of a public information campaign or support for communities, schools, districts that want to apply for these funds to help people know about it and sort of like the new urbanism thought, like retrofit communities to make it safer for pedestrians and cyclists, but focusing on school because that's where money is right now. So keep your fingers crossed, everyone.
So how are things going with biking and walking with your kids?
Well, like, how do they feel about it?
Yeah, do they like to bike and walk, or do they go, why can't we ride everywhere like everybody else?
A little bit of everything. I mean, I think they're 6 and 8, they're boys. Yeah. I mean, I think they don't always know what's right for them. I mean, they have so much energy. I don't want them to be sitting all day. For them, it's like, I want them to make their own choices and have like a little bit of freedom. Like parents today kids are very programmed. Parents are very paranoid about letting kids, walk around the block or like go off on their own. And I think our generation had a lot more, or our kids' parents had a lot more freedom. And I think the biking gives them a bit more of that freedom and control. They don't always want to do it. I have to get things going in the morning. But on the way, we stop on the way home, we discover things, we see dead animals, we find stuff. I like it because it's just it's a bit more relaxed too, and it's good for me too, rather than just, sitting. I write, I'm a writer, so I sit and write, and then I would sit in a car and pick them up, and then sit in the car and drive them home, and then sit around with them and help them with their homework. Like, that sounds terrible to me. It's good for me, it's good for them, and, I think if more people should do it.
Visit us on the internet at www.pedestrians.org.